Good morning, folks. It's time to take it to the river. Certainly, as far as integration is concerned, we started a little bit last time, and this time we're just going to practice doing a bit more and introduce a little more notation. That's all we're going to be doing. So if you are thinking, "Oh, I need to practice that a bit more," that's what we're going to do, and we're just going to show another way of writing it.
This is the form of what we're going to be looking at today. So we're just going to start by taking some notes on what's going on here. We've got like an elongated S at the beginning, and that means integrate. So the elongated S means integrate, and then we've got an expression in the bracket here. Now it's not always in a bracket. If it's just one term, like if it was just 2x cubed, it would just be on its own. But the expression that you've got in the bracket here, this is the expression which needs to be integrated. So that's the expression to be integrated. And on the end here, this bit here where it says dx, dx just means integrate with respect to x. So it's x that you're integrating as opposed to any other letter that may appear in there. So if you'd just like to write that down, and then you might want to pause the video and have a little go at what you think the answer might be. How would we integrate that? And I'll go through that in a moment. So integrating the x to the power half first of all, so let's press it equals, and then so I'm going to up that by 1, so I'll put my x in, add 1 to a half, you get 1.5, which is 3/2, and then I'm going to divide. Now at the moment you've got 1 there, haven't you? So I'm going to divide by what I've got there. So I'm actually just going to write 1 divided by 3/2 like that for now, and then it's all positive, so now it's going to be add my power of x goes up 1, and then I divide that number there by the power I've got here. And some people like to do all of this in one go, but I think if you do this, then you can look at what calculations you've got to do that might be a bit tricky, and separate them out. So I've got 1 divide, so this means 1 divided by 3/2, and I know that that means multiplying by the reciprocal. So 1 times 2/3 is 2/3, and 2/4, well, that's quite easy, that's a half. So I'm now going to say, right, that's all going to equal 2/3 x to the 3/2 plus x to the 4/2, or I could have written a half x to the power 4. And don't forget the old plus c. Haven't got much room for it in there, have I? Yeah. Okay, so don't forget that. Here's another one to have a go at whilst I am, well, I probably should have given a biscuit for forgetting that plus C the time before. So whilst I tuck into that biscuit, chocolate digestive today, you can have a crack at that one, and then we'll see what you should have. So we've got x, if I add 1 to negative 3/2, that's where you've got to be careful. Minus 1.5 is going to get closer to 0, isn't it? So that means that we've got the power minus a half there, and I'm going to be dividing 1 by minus a half, whatever that does, don't worry about it yet. And the other, we're just going to add 1 to the power of x. Remember, this could be x to the power 0 at the moment, so we're just adding 1, and that gives us x, so it gives us 2x, and our plus c on the end. So now we just need to worry about what is 1 divided by negative a half, and I know when I divide I'm going to end up with a negative, so I'm going to actually put the negative there and say, right, it's going to be 1 times 2/1, so that's minus 2. So that's going to give me in the end minus 2x to the negative a half plus 2x plus c. Now here's our next one. You may notice we've got a p in there, so just treat it as a number. Pause it, have a go, and then see whether or not you match what I've got. we're going to start off by, I'm not worrying about the p yet, I'm going to say, right, I've got the x power from minus 2 is going to go up to minus 1. And then I'm going to divide my coefficient of x. Well, in this case, that is p squared. So I'm going to have my p squared there, and I'm going to divide that by negative 1. And then over here, well, if q was just a number, then it would be qx. So that's all we need to do. And then we don't want to lose another biscuit, so we better plus c at the end. And then we just need to tidy up what p squared divided by minus 1. Divide anything by minus 1, it just becomes negative. So you've got minus p squared x to the minus 1 plus qx plus c. Great, now there's one tiny little difference that's happened here. It's not to do with x. Doesn't make any difference though. So have a little go at it before you watch what I do. Always better if you do that. Even if you get it wrong, the fact that you've had a go at it means that it'll make more sense to you. You'll be able to engage more with it when you watch me go through. So what we should have here, we're just thinking about the powers of t. Now that's going to go up to 3. I'm going to divide my 4 by 3. Then I've just got 6 normal things, so we're going to add a power of t, so it'll be 6t. And we still need the old constant at the end. Now, just as we did when we were differentiating, we had to deal with all sorts of situations where the powers of x weren't quite in the form we wanted them. So going back to what we were doing there, if you were differentiating, what would you do with that first and then do it? So do that and then integrate. So first thing to do is say what I want to integrate is 2. Oh, and I'm sorry, there's a definite biscuit thing going on there, isn't it? When I was writing this example down, I was thinking about the fact that this would be x to the power minus 3 once it's come out of there. That should not be a negative in there, folks. That should be positive power of 3. That's a definite biscuit loss for me there. So 2 over, let's just write that out again there. 2 over x cubed. You'd never see over and x to the negative. If you did, it would just reverse back the other way. And then our square root is a power half, so that's what we're turning it into. I'm going to put that in brackets just for form's sake, and then we're going to integrate that. Power goes up 1 from negative 3 to negative 2. I'm going to divide 2 by negative 2, and then I'm going to have x to the half will become 3 over 2 when we add 1 to it, and I'm going to divide my 3 by 3 over 2. So that's going to take a little bit more thought. So over here, and we'll have plus c. So 3 divided by 3 over 2 is 2 is equal to 3 times 2/3. The 3's cancel out, leaving us with 2. So our final answer here, 2 divided by negative 2 is minus 1, so that'd be minus x to the negative 2. Take 2 this time, x to the 3 over 2 plus c. That is my answer. Here's our next example, just 2 more to go. I can assure you I've checked this one. I've written down what I wanted to write down. See, but it's always worth remembering in exams, one of the most common ways to lose marks is by just missing out something little about what we've got. So attending to what we're doing. So have a little go at what you think might happen, and then watch me work through it. First of all, I'm going to keep it as integration, the integral sign in there, and I'm going to multiply out my bracket. So x times x squared is x cubed, and x times 2 over x is 2 over x, which is just 2. So that is my expression that I'm going to integrate. and then we're saying up the power by 1 divided by 4, which I could write as 1/4, or I could just put a line under the x, couldn't I, and put 4 there. And then the 2 becomes 2x, and we add c to the whole business, and that one is done, my friends. And here's our final example. It's a humdinger. The sort of thing they like to do in an exam is make it look as scary as possible, but just take it one stage at a time. Pause the video, give it a go. So what you should have done, hopefully, we start by, if we expand this little bracket, 2x times 2x is 4x squared. So, and over here we're going to have, you've got x to the power half plus 5. Now if we split the denominator under both of them, that gets us to that. We can consider them both separately. So we go again, 4x squared is sorted for now. A half to the power half divided by that one, the power half take 2 is minus 1.5, isn't it? So we're going to have the power of minus 1.5, which is minus 3/2. And then the last one, a little bit simpler, just x to the negative 2. And that's what we're integrating. And that all comes out one stage further as we up the power to 3. We can divide 4 by 3, so that one's sorted. Then if we add a power to 1 to that, we get to a negative 1/2. So we're going to be dividing the 1 by negative 1/2. So 1 over negative 1/2. And up 1 goes to minus 1. So that'll be 5 divided by minus 1. And then adding our c. I'm getting good at doing that now. On the end. So the first one's sorted. How about this? 1 divided by negative 1/2. Well, we know that's going to give us a negative, so it's going to be times by the other way. We've already had this one once today, haven't we? So that's going to give us negative 2. And this one here, 5 divided by negative 1, is going to be negative 5, isn't it? So that means, so that's just my coefficient working out, that's going to give us 4/3 x cubed. This was this, wasn't it? Minus 2x to the negative 1/2. And the last one, minus 5x to the negative 1 plus c. So that is my final answer there. So all you need to do now is practice some of this. So I'm recommending you do questions 1 and 2, mark those, see how they go, and then skip ahead to the exam questions if you can, questions 10 to 14. They get quite nasty by 14, but get as far as you can, and remember, I'm always here for help if you need it. Okay folks, see you tomorrow.